The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Greetings and salutations.
And Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom.
Hey, it's Ladies' Night. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't start that song.
Oh, you know that song is going through my mind.
Here we go.
I don't know that song.
It's Ladies' Night. And the feelings. Okay, I don't want to get copyright kicked down or
disco.
Here we disco go. Era. Yeah. Anyway, to tell you and to keep the audience from going away, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, called Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. You should check that out wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/mysterious. So we've been away a couple weeks. We had some vacation and then an unexpected schedule change last week. And so we are back and with a new episode this week, which we hope you will enjoy. I want to get right into things because it's summertime, and summertime lately means if you're an Apple user, the Apple public betas. And it's interesting how over the years, the betas that Apple really puts out for its operating systems, which it updates in the fall. So the phone, the iPad, the Mac, the watch, the TV, all the Apple things all get their updates at the same time, their new OSs. And they first give them to the developers because those are the buggiest ones. And then eventually, usually in July, they release the public versions. And for a long time, most people stayed away from the betas because they didn't, your phone is probably the most important piece of tech you carry around with you, unless you have a medical condition, have a pacemaker or something. But in general, for consumer electronics, you want your phone, you need your phone to work right. And so people were hesitant to put buggy software on it, which is what beta is. But over the years, it's kind of changed, hasn't it? Joanne, like the idea of putting a beta on important hardware is no longer as questionable.
Yeah, and I think the best way to describe it, Micah Sargent had a way of saying what these different versions are on iOS Today last week, where he talked about, if you want your house pristine for those important guests, that's the final release. And if you don't mind having a few things out of place, that's the beta. And if it's just your friends coming over, it's the developer. They don't care who you are and what you do. So
yeah.
I thought that was
if the walls are unfinished and
right. You're still working on the drywall and and I can understand because I've done the betas since 2019 or no, 2017. I think I've been doing betas, and yeah, in the beginning the betas were the buggiest things going, and this year the betas are almost like the final releases.
Pretty solid. I've had them installed for about 24 hours in anticipation of this discussion on my phone and on my iPad. And I have run into a couple bugs, but in general, yeah, they're pretty solid. I haven't had unexpected crashing, knock on wood. It seems pretty nice. By the way, Micah Sargent's analogy, I'm going to from now on tell people that my house is in a developer beta.
There you go.
How about you, Pat? Do you install betas of software on your important machines?
It depends. It depends upon how many devices I have laying around that can take a beta. If I've got two, I'll put a beta on one of them. But if I'm like on my phone right now, I would not want to put the beta just because it is critical to my business. But I agree that what I'm seeing is Apple is getting so many of the bugs out of the way with the developers beta that there's not as much that's left over for the public betas. It's like those are those are pretty close to release.
Yeah,
So
and
I
what,
don't feel as bad about it, but I just hate to do that on a machine that is critical day to day.
And what happens now with these public betas is that it's up to us to kind of tell them, it still isn't working. These public betas are like the finished products, maybe before pandemic started,
Right.
where you'd get a release and all of a sudden they'd be releasing 2 and 3 more after that to
Right.
fix it. That's what these public betas are now.
Yeah, that's true.
So by the time you get to the fall, those those final releases are, maybe there's one missing thing here or there.
Right. In general, my advice used to be for iOS and iPadOS, update the day the release comes out. That was my advice before. With macOS, I would always wait to the 0.1 release. Just if I could wait. Sometimes it was quite a long time, but in general, wait a bit till now it's almost like I've just moved that to the beta period so that apart from the Mac, with the iOS and the iPadOS, I put the betas on the second. At least I wait till at least the second public beta. First public beta is still, for me, a little too risky, but I wait for the second public beta. I feel like at that point, it's on enough machines that the bugs are getting worked out. And the other big thing is my apps are getting updated. The developers have had time to work out the worst bugs in their apps on the new system so that my critical apps will be supported, will be running. And in fact, we'll put a link in the show notes. There's a thread over at the Mac Rumors website that lists, well, this one is a thread of Mac OS 14 or Sonoma apps that are currently that are supported or unsupported. And then they have another thread that they link from that one where they have the iOS 17 apps that are supported and not supported. So you can see, go over there and go, okay, this is still broken. This isn't running on the current beta. And so, and that's critical to me. So I'm not going to update. So in general, my general advice is I wait on the Mac if it's the most important Mac. If I've got a second Mac that I don't use all the time, that's not as important, then I'll put it on that. But I usually feel okay putting it on my phone. I don't know if I should, but I do.
I took a chance this time. Last night, here I was, knowing I was doing this today, I was like, okay, I got to bite the bullet, put it on the phone. And if I put it on the phone, I have to put it on the watch.
Yeah.
So I went whole hog, and so far, so good. Yeah. Usually I don't hold my breath with the iPad because I have 2 iPads.
Yeah.
And now one of them will not be able to be updated anymore. So
right.
That one's going to be stuck in la la land. But the other one, I put it on a couple of weeks ago and I was like, yep, working fine. Couple of apps weren't, my Marjan was not looking good. had to let them know to fix the Marjan so I could play with my, friend in Italy. And I put it on the TV.
That's another interesting one. Yeah.
And I didn't tell my husband.
Okay.
Because if I had said I was putting it on the TV, he'd be like, no, don't do that. I don't want everything all screwed up. And I put it on the TV because I wanted to see FaceTime.
Right.
And
FaceTime
of course,
through TV. Yeah.
But you can't use it until you put it on your phone.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
Because you got to have the continuity camera with the phone.
And once you put iOS 17 on your phone, you can't do continuity camera on Ventura. So I lost it off the computer.
Oh, right.
Right. So these are if you're going to do a beta, you've got to be able to roll with these punches. If you can't, then don't do the betas.
And more than anything else, it's all the Apple stuff over time has become so integrated. Everything is dependent on everything else. Like, I don't know that I would put beta on my watch just because it's so hard to go back to if something goes wrong. But if you don't, you like you said, if you don't upgrade the phone, then you can't do FaceTime on the Apple TV. But if you do, then you can't do the continuity camera anymore on the Mac. And I mean, I wonder. It's interesting that you can still do what's that handoff thing where you can move the cursor from from the Mac to the iPad. That still works across.
Yeah, that's still working.
Yeah, well, no, not cut and paste. Where the cursor moves from. You can use the mouse and drag the cursor from one screen to the other, and that still works. So some things will work across the operating systems, but some things won't. They must have changed continuity camera substantially with the new version.
Either that, or I've been having a little problem with FaceTime on my Mac anyway lately.
Oh, okay.
So it could be one, it could be both, could be one or the other, but I can't seem to get the continuity camera to work anymore on the Mac. So
actually, I should try that on mine just to see if
let me know.
Yeah. So if you do want to try the public beta, it's easier than ever. And in fact, Apple is kind of encouraging you. They're making it so easy that if you go into on the phone or in the iPad, you go into settings and then under general and then to settings, general, software update. And then there should be, it says automatic updates, and right below it, it'll say beta updates. You go into there and you turn beta updates on, and that will go. Make sure you choose iOS 17 or iPadOS 17 public beta, not developer beta. Developer beta is always going to be the more dangerous, buggy version. So,
and if you want more control, turn your automatic updates off until you hear that something has been, that another one has been released. Listen to the groundling and see if it's okay, and then turn it on.
Right. You don't want to, if a beta update comes out that breaks everything, you don't want to be caught in the automatic update on that. Yeah, that's a good point. Good. That's good. And then, one thing, there's an interesting article I'm going to link from Macworld, Jason Snell writing, where he says why everyone should be running the latest betas on their Apple devices. And he kind of goes into, the fact that they're better than ever, what we were talking about, but also the more people that are running the betas, the more bug reports we'll get, as long as people are submitting their bug reports, which you should be doing if you're running a public beta. But, the more bug reports, so the fewer bugs, the more bugs that get caught, fewer bugs that are out there when it's the public release, it makes everything better. This is the community working together to make everything better. And so it's a bit hyperbole. Maybe not everyone should be running the latest betas on all their devices, but people should be more comfortable than they used to be. And I think that's the word.
You're still going to run into problems.
Yes. So don't come crying to us if you break your device.
Exactly. Be ready for that. It happened to me Monday at work where I went on an app and it was giving me a hair, and I had to look at my boss and go, let me use the browser version of this so I can give you the answer.
Right.
I said, I'm running a public beta. Don't.
Right. So, yeah. And make sure, of course, you have backups. Back up your phone to the cloud, back up your iPad to the cloud, back up your Mac if you're going to update a Mac. All that sort of stuff also applies. So let's talk about the features that we've been using. We talked about some of the features that they announced, but some of the ones we were excited for. So how are they turning out for you? Now, Pat, have you installed a beta at all?
No, well, I am on one of my devices right now, but I didn't get it done in time.
Okay.
But I was just looking through the announced stuff for the things that I thought looked good.
Right. And Joanne, what stands out for you as some of the best features as you've used them?
Well, immediately last night at 11 o'clock when I was downloading iOS 17 for the phone, the first thing I went for was standby.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely. I wanted to see that clock next to me. And I did. I got the clock up and running. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
It's interesting that if you don't have an iPhone 14, so I have an iPhone 13 still.
Me too.
So it doesn't have always on screen. So it does fade away. Whereas the newer phones, the 14 and presumably the 15, they will always be on. But it does pop up notifications in the new wider, bigger format and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. I do like that.
I just like to be able to reach over, tap it, and see the time. Because if not, I have to pick up my entire body, look over my husband, and try to see where the time is on his ALXE,
Yes.
his little other one.
I guess
You go ahead, Pat.
I was just going to say, I guess that's what I use my watch for overnight is I just keep it on all the time and can just tap it to see the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but now you can see it big.
Yeah.
That's true.
what I like about it.
I don't wear my watch to bed. It's uncomfortable for me. And there was the time.
Yeah,
I ended
you
up
had
in
a
the ER.
history. Yeah.
I've talked about that before. But I do charge it next to my bed. But sometimes it's like I wear glasses. It's hard to read. When you wake up in the middle of the night. Having it as a big thing that is really nice and big to see on the phone would be really nice. I did notice. So there's several different screens you can choose. Like there's a photo one. There's a big clock there, and then there's one with widgets where they're like you have two side by side widget stacks. And I noticed like the ones with the Find My and the sleep tracker, they don't show data for me. I have to like open up the app, then go back to standby, and it'll show. So this is a bug in it for me, basically.
It's not refreshing somehow.
Yeah. The data's not coming through. And then I do like the large music widget.
I saw that.
When I'm playing music, I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking. It's nice to have like the big visual widget right there taking up the whole screen for controlling it. I'm looking forward to when I can get like Overcast on there so I can control my podcast the same way. So it is nice. I do like it. I'm looking forward to when more apps have updated to take advantage of it.
And they're going to be selling a lot of those stands for those MagSafe, you can put the MagSafe in. I think I suggested that a couple podcasts ago, because the only way you can see this is if it's landscape.
Right. I have one at my desk right now that's been in my desk stand for ages now. It's an Anchor one, obviously, because everything I have is Anchor. And but it works perfectly. I just pop it on there and it's in the right shape. In fact, for me, it's going to be more important at my desk than it is my bedside because my wife, Melanie, light in the room while she's sleeping is just anathema. So I got to, I have to cover everything. All the
but it turns red. Is she going to have a problem with that too?
She might. So for me, the big one is just having it at my desk and having this landscape mode with this big widget. It's almost like a control panel or a dashboard sort of thing. That's what I really am looking forward to, especially once I upgrade to the iPhone 15. That will give me the always on feature, and at a glance, I can see things and it's always there. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So that's that one. Standby, and then the contact posters. I haven't had many. I don't get many phone calls, and I don't really get a lot of phone calls from other iOS users. Or maybe
I can start
do.
calling you if you want.
You can start calling me. And so I haven't seen the calls come in with the contact poster, but I've had some fun setting up my contact poster, and it's been really interesting. One of the things I noticed is whatever you choose as that image for yourself, that propagates across all your devices. So the user profile image for my Mac now is the same image. So I had the Memoji one. I like the Memoji one on the Mac because when you're typing your password in, it looks down, and then if you mistype it, it kind of like shakes its head at you and stuff, kind of getting judged by a little me on the mini me on the screen. But I'm not a great typist. But it's changed now to be a more static image, but I don't mind too much. I wish I could break those up, but it's not a huge deal. But I like the idea of these contact posters, especially since you can specify only with other contacts. That's actually a big thing. Like, I don't want this necessarily with people I don't know. I want people I know to get the image so they can see it's me. I don't like the idea of calling a business, for instance, and having will they be getting their calls on an iPhone? Sometimes, like maybe a small business like a plumber or something. But in general, I want it to be people I know who will have me in their contacts to get that image.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of using my Memoji
Yeah.
because I think that's kind of benign.
Yeah.
So I don't mind using the Memoji.
Right.
That's not bad.
And it's static. You can have a static emoji, like a standard pose if you want.
Right, like, there's the Memoji that kind of, you can see that for you folks.
Yeah, it's just kind of sitting there, smiling at the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of works. However, all my other contacts, my friends, my husband, I've been finding pictures and throwing them all in. And
well, that's the other thing is you can assign a photo to for someone, a contact photo and poster for them, and you can override the ones that people send you. So that if you've got that annoying,
could be dangerous.
Yeah, you get that annoying brother who wants to send you inappropriate photos instead of their own, you can override that, and so he can't send it to you. That none of my brothers would do that, but I can imagine that happening. So you can override what they can send, and only show nothing or what you want to see, and that's a big one. Yeah, so standby and contact poster. Of course, lock screen widgets for the iPhone were great. I've been using those. On my iPhone, I've had AnyList for my grocery list, so I have really quick access to my grocery list. I have my the access to the medicine part of the the medications part of the health app, so when I can log my medications and it can remind me of them, and then I have a weather widget there. Now on the iPad, you have two different sets of widgets. When it's in landscape mode, you get a whole bunch of widgets down the left-hand side. I didn't even count how many you can get in there, but it's a lot. It's like if you have all the small size, it's like 6 of them you can fit in there. And then if there's a whole nother set of widgets that you can put in when it's in portrait mode. So you can have a different set of widgets if you want. So have you done the iPad widgets, Joanne?
It's the first time I've been able to play with widgets on an iPad. So yeah, I've done basically weather and clock because I have folks in different places in the world. So I have all their clocks, so I know what time it is. I love it, when I'm calling somebody and I think it's my time and it's not. So I've done that much with it. The iPad has been really, really stable.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned, I just haven't gotten used to all of the how to set things up in it properly, because I wanted to have wallpaper different than a lock screen, and I'm having trouble trying to figure that out. It wants to both do it together, and I'm like, no. I still want a lock screen that looks one way and my regular wallpaper that looks another way, and it's got to be user error.
Well, some of it was hard. Like it took me a bit to figure out how to modify the standby mode and how to modify the lock screen on the iPad. It wasn't intuitive. It's not the same. Like for instance, the lock screen stuff is not exactly the same way you do it on the iPhone. In fact, off the top of my head, I can't even remember how I got into it. I need to poke around again to get back into it. So hopefully, when they launch the final version, they have a little like initial walk people through things to help them figure out how to set this stuff up, because there's so many features now. It's so hard to find some of them, but yeah.
That's the thing. There's going to come a point where I think there might be too many features. Yeah. And a lot of them are going to get lost.
Right. And well, that's actually a huge problem is there are so many features in these operating systems already that nobody knows of. In fact, that's one of the, there's a whole cottage industry of YouTubers and TikTokers making videos about hidden little features and accessibility that you can do and stuff like that. Like just mind-blowing little bits of trickery and hackery that you can do for little known features. And
shortcuts. Yeah. I have not even begun to scratch the surface of shortcuts.
Oh yeah. I'm not as big in shortcuts as some people, but I do use them somewhat extensively. Maybe that's a future episode. Yeah.
I have like 2.
So now you've been using the new watch OS. Tell us about your favorite features on that?
Oh, well, it has to be Snoopy. But Snoopy is distracting.
The Snoopy watch face? Yeah.
Oh, gosh. There were 2 new watch faces. There is Snoopy, and if I can remember the name of the second one, and it's not easy. The one thing about the watch is the watch has the most changes of anything.
Really?
Because the crown works differently now. The button works differently now.
Right.
You can't, but the good thing is your watch faces don't go move on you on their own anymore.
Right. You have to
That's
intentionally.
been a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Now you push it down, and that's the only way you can scroll and get your watch faces. But the 2 new watch faces are Snoopy and the palette. And what the palette does is it's the second hand goes around and changes the color.
Right.
So if it's in a solid color, it's different grades of that color. If it's all colors, it's very colorful. Let's put it this way.
Yep.
But Snoopy is a series of vignettes. So they're like 5-second vignettes.
Okay.
And they change. So, and when he's resting, he's sleeping on his doghouse in different positions. But every time you look up, it's something new. He's playing basketball. He's using one of the arms as a ramp for his skateboard. He's golfing. He's raking leaves. He's playing with woodstock. He's eating. And it's
That's
distracting as all get out. And you can change the background color, and it's all like one of the colors was Lucy blue. So it's all colors that they've used in Peanuts. It's all the different colors. You can find the Charlie Brown orange. You can find all those different colors as your background.
Interesting.
Because I have blanket blue on right now.
Cool.
So I have Linus's blanket.
Linus's blanket, that's right.
Right. Oh, yes, and she's going to start yelling at me.
Well, that's the other thing was the Siri face, or whatever they're calling it now, the new replacement for the Siri is supposed to be much better. It's a it's like a widget face or something like that, right?
I haven't. Hold on, I can probably tell you that it's the new face for the modular. Yeah, modular still looks the same.
There was a different. No, there was a.
I might not have that one installed.
Okay.
I may not have that one installed. Let's see if I have Siri on here. No, I don't think so.
I don't know if they're calling it Siri anymore. There's
not.
There's a new version of it that used to be called Siri that watch faces. Oh, I'm trying to find. There's a new face that gives you access to a lot more information than ever before. It's really surfacing lots of stuff as it anticipates you needing it is the idea.
Okay.
But
I'll install that one and check back and get back to you on it.
Yeah. Curious about that one.
But I've also been checking the battery usage, and I'm down to 32% with Snoopy on all day.
Okay.
So it does take up some of the one bug I found in the watch too is Siri keeps coming on every 5 seconds.
Huh.
Which is sometimes she'll start to talk to you, which is what she's done like now for a couple of minutes here.
Right.
But I am watching the battery usage. So with any of these new faces, you've got to watch and see how much it's going to take up of your battery.
That's also another good point about betas in general is betas of operating systems will use more battery life. Battery optimization is one of the last things they do before release. So you expect to get less battery life out of your devices.
True. And when I went into the control panel of the watch, I found a new icon, and it's called School Time.
Right.
And believe it or not, it turns your watch into just a basic watch.
Yeah.
Okay. It has your name on it. It has a date, it has a time. And while you have that on, it immediately knocks everything else off but emergency phone calls and other notifications that are of an emergency nature. And then you have to turn it off.
Right. that
when
is
school
there.
is over.
They sold that as for parents as a sort of parental control so that kids aren't being distracted by their watches at school.
And Snoopy can do that.
And other apps too, of course. But yeah, that would certainly
Exactly.
be the case. Your kids can text with their watches. They can make calls with their watches, if they have the right kind of cellular watch. So it's a precaution against kids misusing the tech in school. So,
But it's also good for church.
yeah.
Because if you're in church and things start to ring, especially when you're playing the organ, it's
Right.
not a good thing. The only way you can release it is to hold down the digital crown, and then it will ask you,
Interesting.
do you want to exit? And
So
you say yes.
I've mentioned
So
before.
that's different.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's different than the do not disturb. Then
Correct.
It's much more critical. I mean, more
So
precise.
I
Well,
use
it
the
takes
focus
out
mode.
distractions.
Right. I use a focus mode for now, which is I basically say allow notifications from no people and no apps. Like there are no notifications allowed at all on my phone. And then it changes the screens so that the only app that is available on my screen is iBreviary and or an iBreviary widget. So I have a screen that only has an iBreviary widget. And then it turns my watch to just the time and the date in red, and that red is my mass time focus mode. And then the way I've got it set is it automatically. Now, this only works if you don't work at the church, so just bear with me on that one. But as soon as I enter into our parish church, within the geographical boundaries of the property, it turns the focus mode on, and then it turns it off as soon as I leave. I don't have to remember to do it. And
Nice.
I've actually got all the different churches we go to for different, family and like every time I go to a new parish church, I set that up as in the focus mode so that I never have to worry about it. But for priests and parish workers, you don't want your focus
wouldn't
mode
work.
coming on
No,
as
you
soon
can't
as you
do that.
come onto the property of work. Yeah. So. But it's good. I mean, it's good that that school time works. It's very simple. Just go in and turn it on. It's kind of like theater mode, except theater mode turns off the watch. Like you can't see anything, but this lets you use it as a watch at least.
Yeah, it does, which I think is still helpful. Theater mode shuts it down completely.
Yes.
But at least you still have a watch. You can still see what time it is, and it's in yellow.
Right.
So, but you have to hit that crown in order to get rid of it. And then you have to tell it, yes, I do want to get out. And it tells you how long you've been in school time.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So that's also interesting.
So let's run quickly through some other ones because we could go on for an hour just on this, I think.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the other features that you've really enjoyed with the betas? The message search, messages get some updates.
I have not looked at messages. The only other thing I've worked with is the TV.
Okay. And go ahead.
FaceTime. It's
Okay.
FaceTime is a couple of things on the TV. The TV now has the time.
Right.
So there is these TVs that we have, the smart TVs, they put time on it sometimes they don't put time on it.
Right.
Some apps have it, some apps don't. Now you can find it constantly.
It's always
on.
there.
It's there. You can find it.
Yeah.
The control panel is a little different now. It has a sleep timer. Thank you, Jesus. Finally. Right. For those of us who like to turn the TV off, have it turn off at night by itself. And FaceTime. I was blown away today when I finally got the phone on 17, connected it up to the TV, and 55 inches of now I can see whoever I'm talking to.
Nice.
That for me, for people in Italy, for people in Atlanta, for people in California is a total game changer.
Right.
And it runs like continuity camera. You use the backside of your phone. You're going to have to, again, buy 12 more of those stands so you have them all over the place. And it uses the mic in the phone, and it's a breeze.
And the quality is high quality is what you're saying. Yeah.
It is. It's of years of trying to crowd around a computer or an iPad or a phone.
Right.
Now you get to see it, everybody together.
Right.
on a big screen. That's what I always used to say. Why doesn't the TV have this?
Right. Well, this is one of the things when people talked about Apple selling an actual TV set was like for this purpose. And Apple saying, why should we sell, a box with a screen in it? We could sell the little box and use your phone, and like, we don't have to get into the business of selling, big screens like that.
Oh, and there are 6 rows now across of apps instead of 5.
Oh, good.
Add an extra row to your first row so you can,
right.
Nice.
All right. So I think we'll, bring a halt to our discussion there. There are so many more features, and we may just, when the release comes out, maybe we'll talk about a few more that have really improved since then, that sort of thing. But I'm really, really interested to see, sometimes it's the users who really determine what's the good features, the best features. The widgets a few years ago really became huge. And so I'm curious to see what is the big takeaway from iOS 17.
And if you want to give back, use the feedback app.
Right.
If something goes wrong, take a picture of it, send it to Apple, and they'll figure out how to fix it.
Right. They want your feedback.
They do.
All right. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Claudia S., James K., Alfredo B., Ed B., and Mary V. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So our first headline is actually another iOS 17 headline. Don't worry, it's an interesting one. So one of the features that was introduced in iOS 15 was an accessibility feature that allowed the phone, if you held your iPhone up, it was something called visual lookup. And if you held your phone up to various things, it would audibly tell you what they are. And, or it could show it on the screen too, like it label things. And it's a little bit like the Google feature. Google Lens. It's a little bit like that, where it's using AI to interpret what it's seeing and to look it up. Well, someone recently discovered that in iOS 17, Apple has really expanded the catalog of things that the iPhone can interpret, including all the various symbols that you might find in your vehicle's dashboard. Now, if you ever looked at your dashboard of your car, most cars have a standard set of symbols, but sometimes those symbols are kind of non-intuitive. I suppose somewhere in your manual it explains what they are, but after the first day you brought your car home, do you ever open the manual? It's still in your glove box, no crease in the spine, the whole thing. So this one Reddit user was like holding up his phone to all of the different symbols he could find, including like the idiot lights, the warning lights, as they lit up, and it would explain what they are, which is kind of handy, right? What do you think? Is that a go ahead?
I was going to say, especially in a rental car where it's not the car that you're primarily using.
That's true. That's actually even more important, right? Yeah, I like the idea that you could use the phone can proactively interpret the world around you. And this kind of points toward future products, like maybe Vision Pro or a version of the Vision Pro that we will be wearing around all the time. This is a way of augmenting reality that really sounds useful to me anyway. What do you think?
No, I like the idea. Yeah. I do. But somebody who's owned her car for about 8 years now, I know all my idiot lights. So when I get the new one, okay, fine, we'll start working with this. But yeah, it's a good idea, and that kind of a visual lookup is good for just about anything, especially when you're traveling.
Yes, right.
And familiarity, it would be real helpful.
Yeah. hotels, other just places where you're not used to what the thing is. I mean, I've been in hotels or office buildings, whatever, and it's embarrassing. Like, I feel like I should know what this is, like, or which is the on button, or which is the one that will make it hotter or colder or whatever. And you don't want to look like an idiot and ask. So this is a nice thing to prevent you from looking like an idiot. So I'm curious what else is in that catalog that will interpret for you. So the next story says the U.S. has approved chicken made from cultivated cells, the nation's first lab-grown meat. So a couple of companies out there have gone beyond the plant-based meat, that Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger folks. They're making actual meat, in this case chicken, from real animal cells, but in a lab. And the U.S. Agricultural Department, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved it for sale in the U.S. And the reports say that it tastes like chicken. The interesting thing is it's too expensive to sell in supermarkets. It's obviously they haven't reached scale yet. So they're actually starting off by selling it in high-end restaurants as a sort of elite food to kind of get people used to it. But what do you think of this? I mean, would you want to eat lab-grown meat, and why not?
I saw the movie Soylent Green, so I'm not going there with this.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was going to say, if you look at the fact that you don't have to have the acreage and the all of the food and all of that type of thing that is used in growing meat, you can say, well, there's a real benefit there to et cetera. But it's like, I keep thinking, well, they could add some seasoning and make it a teriyaki chicken, or they can make it a
well, what they say is it cooks like chicken. Like, you just there's two different products. One comes already cooked and you just reheat it, and the other one you cook it. And so you can, in the article that we'll link, it talks about, the reporters, the journalists had meals prepared for them by chefs at these companies, and they make them into cutlets, nuggets, shredded meat, satays. They even sell it in the form of a chicken breast or chicken thigh, boneless, of course. And they say the texture is the same, the flavor is the same, the color is a little paler, which is interesting. But they said
no blood.
Yeah, exactly. But they said the big problem, the marketing problem, is the ick factor. Is most people just think it sounds weird. So their big obstacle is, if you try it, you'll probably be okay with it, is what they say. But it's getting people to try it. That's the big problem.
Well, and the cost factor at this time would be something that it would be hard to go out of my way to find something to sample,
right?
To try it. I probably would try it if it were something that was a high class restaurant that said, and they gave you a sampling of it. I would probably try it, but it doesn't sound like I'm ready for prime time yet.
I just want to know what chemicals are used in all of this.
Right.
Because remember, at least with animals, we know basically, and even though some of them get chemicals, what they're eating, what's going into their bodies, what's being digested, then you killed them and you eat what they've digested. So I'm not quite sure what this is. It is a big ick factor for me. Right. I guess I'm not going to be one that'll even want to try it. And I eat exotic food, like, octopus.
Sure.
No.
It is the unknown. How, what goes into it? How is it made? That's a big part of it. But to be honest, I'd be more likely to eat something like this than an Impossible Burger.
Yeah, me too.
True.
All right. And then, and I'd love to hear from listeners. Would you eat lab meat? That would be interesting.
Didn't I see where they were 3D printing steak?
Oh,
already?
jeez.
This is different though.
This is different, yeah. And this is only chicken so far, though. They do have plans for pork, beef, and seafood. But yes.
Well, I guess I guess I don't understand how they're doing the 3D printing of steak then if it's not being grown in a vat.
It's probably they're probably taking actual like beef off a cow and breaking it down and then reconstituting it. I would have to.
Okay, sorry for the diversion.
No,
but I thought I remembered hearing about the steak.
Yeah, no. Let me see if I can quickly 3D printed plant-based steaks. Well, there's that 3D printed plant-based steaks. That
no,
would be,
this one I thought was real.
Yeah,
I mean was
in the Guardian. This was a couple years ago. 3D printed steak. Anyone? Let's see.
I may have been wrong. Maybe it was plant-based, but
this
I
one's
thought
also
it was
plant-based. Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong.
Okay. I mean, there may have been another
It still
one, but
sounds icky.
yeah, I don't want vegan. 3D
Vegan
Israeli
steak.
company unveils lab-grown beef.
That's what I was thinking. I remembered.
Yeah, lab-grown beef chunks. Real beef sourced from cows without any slaughtering involved. It's still in the research phase. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the big difference is this chicken is on the market.
This is commercial.
Yeah. This little chicken went to market.
Oh, jeez.
That little beef stayed home in the lab. So the last headline I wanted to talk about is this story. I'm trying to find it in my list of stories. So let me pull it back up again. I lost it. Sorry, folks. The headline is remote work appears to be here to stay, especially for women. And actually, this is an auspicious panel to be talking about this with. And what they found is post-pandemic, even after people have started going back to the office, the fact is it looks like more people will be working from home on an ongoing basis. That it's even although the numbers of people who are working from home have obviously gone down, whether part-time or full-time, there's still more people than ever who are working from home at least part-time. And it's very interesting. And then some of the other stuff that they found is that most Americans are spending more time alone in their leisure time, and that women continue to spend more time caring for children than do men, which I'm not sure that surprises anyone, but also that women are more likely to be remote working than men are. That women are choosing it. They prefer it.
Well, didn't I see something about that they tended to be higher education in the women that were working at home than the men that were working at home or something like that?
It was more along the lines of the more education you have, the more likely you are to be working from home, remote working, and women in the workforce tend to be higher educated on average than men. In other words, of the women in the workforce, most have higher education. There are a lot more men in jobs that don't require higher ed, in blue collar, manual labor type jobs. And that's another part of it is they found, of course, that people who are higher education, remote work favors college educated workers. Auto workers can't build cars in their living room.
No.
True.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I've always thought, even before the pandemic, I thought it just made sense for more people to work from home than did, because the benefits, you don't need to commute. You don't have all of that nonsense. It's better for the company. You don't have to have these big office buildings. And so much of what we do now I had so many jobs where you go in, you sit at your desk, and for work-related things, I didn't necessarily need to be face-to-face with people. Sure, there was lots of, camaraderie sort of stuff when people hanging around the water cooler. But as far as getting work done, and with the technology we have today, even more so. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, as somebody who travels, 45 minutes one way to work 3 times a week, and now I work at home 2 times a week, those 2 hours each day is put to better use. But I've been working at home most of my career.
Right.
Because when I first started in church work, there was no office for the musician.
Right.
You know, you basically worked at home unless you were sitting at the organ or having a rehearsal or something. So I've got used to it. And that's a big I've said this before here. That's a big problem for a lot of people who think working at home is great until you start doing it and you realize you have to be very disciplined
It
in
does
order
require,
to do it.
Yeah, it does require that
does.
discipline. There's a lot of distractions possible when you work from home. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially when you have a dog, especially when you have children, especially when you have, people coming to your door, trying to sell you solar panels, all day long. This is what goes on.
I get those guys. I usually just point at my roof and go, I have panels on the roof. If you'd look.
And I'm making a sign that says we're
just
not
don't
getting
go to the door.
Right.
Yeah.
But the alone time is what you need to counter.
Yeah.
Because you do spend more time alone when you're home, even if you're on the phone with work, than you are when you're there with people.
Right.
Yeah. So
that there is the problem and possibility of isolation. And for some people, for an introvert, that's not always a big problem. Although even introverts need social time occasionally. But for extroverts, I mean, I know there are extroverts who, during the pandemic, were just bouncing off the walls because they just couldn't stand being alone all the time. And I've worked at home for most of my working life. I mean, there was a period of time where I worked for the Archdiocese of Boston. I worked in the office there, and then I worked in a parish for a little bit afterward. But other than those 8 years or so, all of it, the rest has either been full time at home or at least part of the time at home. And yeah, it requires you to be some disciplined. There's a lot of flexibility that you can have. There's a lot of, it's really nice to be able to have lunch with my wife and my kids every day and, run an errand or make a call or whatever, in the midst of getting the rest of my work done. But you've got to be focused and disciplined about yourself and be able to get away from distractions, especially if you don't have an office or space that you can shut a door and lock it out. And it's a new challenge that people are going to have to get used to. So
I guess what I've been hearing in is so many reports of is the trend of pulling people back into the office. That this, I was surprised to hear this study because I've been hearing the opposite. More
Right.
people are, without their wish, they're being pulled back into the office. And so I guess
both are true. I think so it's, how am I trying to say this? More people are working from home than were before the pandemic. More would if they could, I think is the question. And so lots of companies are pulling people into the office who don't really want to go. So,
I think some companies are seeing the value of keeping their very valuable women employees if they can let them have flexible time to work at home, even, because of childcare, because of anything like that. It behooves them to have them, because you can be very productive at home, even if you have other things going on. I mean, I've learned over the years, I can do my laundry while I'm working. I can't clean my house while I'm working.
Right.
It's, you learn that
you have to juggle.
You can't cook. Okay. You can take a 2-hour lunch if you want to tack on an hour on the other end.
Sure.
So it's things like that you learn. And I think if our house is any indication, men have a little bit more problem, no offense, Dom, working at home than women do. My husband finds it very difficult.
Issues.
Yeah, he finds it very difficult to work from home.
I think actually studies have shown that women are better multitaskers or better at juggling multiple things at once, or, not literally at once, but moving between tasks. I think is the better way of talking about it, because no one really multitasks. I'm not, doing the laundry literally while I'm typing an email, but but being able to shifting, task shifting is, women are much better at it than men are. And I will put my hand up to that one. I am terrible at task shifting, and but I think that's a good point. Companies need to be adaptable, especially in this labor environment where it's hard to get employees. And so they're working hard to be more adaptable to make an environment that keeps their best people happy. Yeah. And yeah, no, I was going to say something else about women in the workplace, but I guess I forgot it. Right at the mind. It shows I can't multitask.
Could be age too.
Shift gears. Anyway, those are our headlines, and let's move on to our picks of the week. And Joanne, you're up first. What's your pick of this week?
Well, it's a limited time only pick because while we're recording this, Pope Francis is in Lisbon. Yay.
Yeah.
And there are 2 apps if you want to catch the unvarnished stuff, because CNN is too busy with other things right now to cover this. So the Catholic TV app, catholictv.org, even though they are having some technical difficulties this week, they are showing that they're managing to stream the Vatican media. So they are showing that as it happens, and an app called RTP Play. This comes straight out of Portugal. Now, I can't find the subtitles in English anywhere. I speak limited Portuguese, but if you want to see the Pope in real time, then the RTP app is where you go to catch all of the stuff that they're talking about right now with him. We have a group there from our diocese. A couple of kids from our parish are there. Oh, nice. So this is a good chance to keep up with them and experience a little of what they're experiencing on the ground.
Honestly, the Portuguese version might be better because it always drives me a little bit batty the constant talking of commentators. Like sometimes you just don't need to talk. Like it's their job to fill up the airtime, but gosh, it can be so annoying. So actually, like if it's in a foreign language I don't understand, I can almost tune it out better.
Yes.
So maybe I will watch the Portuguese feed.
Yeah, I get every 9th word, so it's helping me get my language skill back.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good picks. And Pat, what's your pick this week?
Well, when I was growing up, there used to be a way you could walk into a library and see the reference librarian at the reference desk. Mm-hmm. So there is a website that's called Reference Desk, REFDESK. And it is you can help them support that, but he only has a couple of ads, and I say he because it's one person that has made this. But the idea being is that it's very well organized and categorized such that you can see like all the major newspapers. There's a listing for each one of them, maybe with their front page, or pictures of the day from astronomy all the way through science, through industry, different type. There's games, there's things for homework, there's the all of the standard reference materials like the Merck manual and the Farmer's Almanac and all of these things. It's a well organized way. If you've got 30 minutes or an hour to waste on the web, it's a nice way to go to do something productive, kind of interesting. And I've used it for years, and my older clients really like it because it kind of gives them a structure for the web, because the web is just out there.
Right.
And this gives you a way to kind of, look at this. I could look up the high temperatures in weather of the world right now, or whatever it is. So I've had a lot of fun showing people this.
So it's basically an organized pages of links within categories. So like I'm looking at fast facts, and there's almanacs, and there's external links to a bunch of almanacs and maps, CIA World Fact Book, and the Old Farmer's Almanac, like you mentioned. And then there's calendars and time, the atomic clock of the U.S. Naval Observatory, and this day in history, and then there's, like you mentioned, newspapers organized by state and then by world, and they're just links to these sites. And it's
right.
Gosh, it's kind of like reminds me of the early days of Yahoo. Do you remember that? Like when you could link to every new page, every new site on the internet from one directory.
Right.
So
Well, and he basically says that he links to things that are family friendly and safe.
Right.
He cannot control what they do once you get to those other sites.
Right.
But it is a nice way of safely looking at what's on the web, if you don't dig too deep type thing, or don't go off on tangents.
Right. So this, like you said, this is great for folks who just aren't comfortable in Google, like facing a blank search box, or for kids. I think this would be a great way to make this a homepage for kids.
Yeah. Well, as I say, there's the homework helper section. There's a whole lot of stuff down on the far. I think it's on the right hand column.
Yep.
That you go down and you get homework help and lots of different search engines, lots of different ways you can get to about 20 different email systems just up at the top right.
Right.
I mean, it's a very, very nicely organized.
I mean, this would make a nice homepage, like a standard page that comes up when you open up your browser.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Very nice. I like it. So my pick is a little bit of hardware, and this is related to the AirTag, but it's an AirTag holder. It's called the Tag Vault Surface, and this is from a company called Elevation Lab. And what I was looking for was I wanted to put an AirTag on my Kindle, and because Amazon still hasn't figured out a way to integrate finding your Kindle when it's lost, which we have 7 Kindles in my house, and at one time or another, one of them is lost. And so, or we have 6 Kindles in my house, but, and so I'm constantly putting, I was used to put the tile stickers on them. So I'll buy a case and I'll put a sticker on the back, tile sticker on the back, and use the tile system. But I wanted to do the AirTag, but AirTags themselves don't have a way to attach them. So this is the Tag Vault Surface, and it's a waterproof AirTag adhesive mount. And this is some strong adhesive. I think it's a 3M VHB, I think is a particular kind of adhesive. And it's actually kind of designed for things like bicycles. You could
or boats
or skis, or things that are meant for outdoors, in the weather that you want to keep track of. Like I've heard like one person who they put one of these under the seat of their bike, so that if the bike ever gets stolen, they can track it down. And I tell you, it's really nice, really durable. It's kind of big. It's bigger than a tile sticker, that's for sure. But I put it on the back of my Kindle, and actually I put it near the top so that it becomes a sort of inclined stand for the Kindle while I'm reading. And it's only $13 to go with your AirTag. It's been really nice. And I've taken my Kindle everywhere, and this thing has been rock solid. There's no hint that this thing's coming off anytime soon. So hopefully I don't have to replace my case. I'll have to buy another one. But it's the Tag Vault Surface, and they have a couple other. Elevation Lab has a couple variations on the Tag Vault. They have a keychain one. They have a dog collar one. So they have a variety of these. But this is the Tag Vault Surface. Anything that you can stick a 3M sticker on, this will stick to. So, all right. So that should do it for this time. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we talked about today. If you have a favorite feature in one of the new Apple public betas, or, tell us whether you'd eat lab-grown meat. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. You can visit this. For a second there, I thought I said that wrong, but no, I did say that right. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/221. And remember to like each episode wherever you find us on social media, whether it's on Facebook or on X. I'm never going to get used to saying that. Or wherever you find us online, and leave us comments wherever you can do that. Until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
Glad to be here.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.